This is what depression means to me, day 14. Now I'm trying not to think about these things before I do them, which I think is why it takes me a little longer to form ideas about what I want to talk about. I think it's important when talking about depression to stay in the moment. Because it's hard to form ideas around depression, at least it is for me, because depression isn't sadness. Depression is emptiness. And I was watching a couple videos about it last night because I was rewatching one of mine, and it came up after I watched mine, and it was talking about the difference between depression and sadness, and how. So I think there are a lot of words nowadays that are getting a lot of usage that isn't necessarily proper usage. So when people who do not experience depression use the word depressed, it bothers me. It really does. Because it makes me want to open up about my depression with people who say they're depressed. Like, I think that if more people who are depressed got together and talked, we might feel something out of that depression, and that would be really beautiful. But if I open up with someone who claims to be depressed, who is not depressed, because depression isn't sadness. Depression is imbalances in my brain. It makes me feel hollow. It makes me feel empty. And it's often hard to describe, which I think is why this project is so difficult. And that can create shame if you talk about depression with someone who doesn't understand, because it's hard to understand. It's hard for me to understand. Which is why I think it's so important for people who deal with individuals in their life who are depressed, to understand the do's and don'ts of communicating with a depressed person. Because it has nothing to do with you, really, right? And I think a lot of people who don't understand depression take it seriously, or personally. It is serious, but they take it personally, thinking that this person doesn't want to talk to me. Why don't they want to talk to me? Why don't they want to hang out? And any other examples between and beyond that. But I think it's really important for you to understand that it's not about you. That person is probably missing you. That person feels bad. That person wants to connect, but doesn't want to feel like a burden. So it's really important for people to not say things like, when someone says I'm depressed, Don't tell them it's gonna be okay. I've felt sad too. I understand what you're going through if you don't. The conversation and like the pieces of dialogue that may be helpful for people to learn are things like, you know, I can't relate to being depressed. I know what it feels like to be sad. And I just want you to know that I'm here for you whenever you need to talk. I love you. And you will get through this. Things like that are a lot more helpful than telling me I'm gonna be okay, or, you know, like, come out with us and just have a good time. We'll have a girls' night and like everything will be alright. Yes, that does help, but unlike sadness, it can't be cured by a good time. You can stop being sad if you have like a sensational night out, or like, I don't know, I can't really think of any examples right now. The one thing I can think of that's something I can do to sort of get outside of my depression is meditation. And right now I'm addressing spiritual blockages by doing chakra meditations. And it's actually really helping me. Like this morning, I didn't really feel that great. I felt really low mood, really like, okay, example, there's a pile of clothes that I can't figure out what to do with, and I just keep, like, I don't know where to put them because I have to organize my life to put them somewhere, so they just keep moving between the floor and my bed, and the floor and my bed, and the floor and my bed. Like, every time I have to go to sleep, they go back on the floor. Every time I get up for the day, they go back on the bed, thinking that I'm gonna be able to put them away today, and it just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And it's not because I'm lazy, it's not because I have like a lack of like incentive to do it or whatever, or lack the motivation. It's because something inside my brain doesn't like have the energy to do it sometimes. Doesn't have, like, I don't know what it is, but it's something in there, and it says that you can't do this today. And it's not a lack of motivation. Like, if I lacked the motivation, I would just put them in a fucking box and like put them somewhere. But no, every day I pick them up off the floor and go, today I'm gonna do this. And then it's time to go to bed, and I go, crap, I didn't do that. And I put them back on the floor. And I think that's a really good description of like my depression and where it holds me right now. Good days are like I get a couple items from that pile put away. Bad days are back on the floor it goes, didn't do any of it. And it's hard. It's hard because, and I don't know if this is my depression, or this is my addiction, or this is my anxiety talking. When it says, like, you're a disappointment because you didn't do it. See, when you have multiple mental health problems, at some point they all sort of like blend together, and it's really hard to go, okay, this is depression, this is anxiety, Like, and oftentimes they like feed off each other as well. Like if I'm really anxious, I can just spiral into depression, and go, I'm too anxious. I'm too anxious to leave my house, so I might as well just go back to bed. And like not because I'm tired, like because I've decided, or like my brain thinks that the only good alternative to being overwhelmed, anxious, and depressed is to just turn it all off. Like if I go to bed and don't have to deal with this, then like it's like it'll be fine. We'll just put it off, or like maybe it'll be better when I wake up, and like it's never better when I wake up. Yeah, I think I'm losing my train of thought right now, but yeah, if you're struggling with depression, find someone to talk to. And if they're not also depressed, it might be, there are so many pictures online of like do's and don'ts for depression. If you're feeling bad about talking to someone, or you're feeling like it's not gonna go well, find a do's and don'ts sheet and help that person understand. Things that you don't need to hear, things that you do like may need to hear or might be helpful. And let's open up dialogue about this serious mental health issue that is literally claiming lives. Depression is a silent killer. It leaves you alone. It leaves you sad. And if you're not talking about it, you could be putting your life in jeopardy. So please, everyone who is experiencing depression, get out there and try and open up a dialogue about these things. It may be painful. It may be really, really, really hard, but I promise you it will get easier the more you talk about it. All right.